Hey everybody, welcome in today. I've got a special treat for you. Today we're at the OSG Garage top secret proving grounds and we're gonna take a rip on this bad girl. Stay tuned. So as you guys may or may not know, I love two-strokes. My main trail riding bike is a 1996 KDX200 that I put way more work into than I should have, but I really love that bike. It's the perfect trail bike. It's got good suspension, a great motor, it's reliable, and you just can't kill them. But there was a few times at Medcalf and a few other places where I wanted to take a few laps around a motocross track and the bike just doesn't have the suspension for it. It's a perfect suspension for the woods and trails, but it just doesn't have it for getting air and going at speed over some of the big whoops and jumps that you have on a motocross track. So I started searching around right around December, January, and I found this thing on Craigslist for just under $2,000. Now when I first got it, it was a lot rougher than what you see here. The bike was a great runner, had a great motor, transmission, everything worked great, and it even has great rubber on it. The Shinkos on the front and Bridgestone Geomax on the back still have a lot of tread on it, but the plastics were pretty well beat up. Brakes were in bad shape. The exhaust system had tons of dents in it, and the suspension needed a lot of work. So after a few months and a torn Achilles later, I've got the suspension all sorted out. Helbros Brothers in San Jose redid the cartridge forks in the front for me. The rear suspension has had all the bushings gone through, stripped off all the black paint off of anything that had it on, like the swing arm and the frame, cleaned all that up, and we've got a brand new Erechabis plastic kit on it. Now the idea with me with this bike was not to put a ton of money into it, but just enough so I could get it cleaned up, bring it back pretty much to OEM specs. We even have kind of the OEM graphics looks to this thing. That way, if I got on it and didn't want to do any racing anymore, I could probably flip it for some good money. I didn't want to put a ton of time into redoing the engine, putting Electron on it, having to go through and put new rubber on and you know, dive into all that. Yeah, it wasn't a bad bike at all. It had just some roughness to it here and there. Now, I told you about some of the parts I replaced, but let's talk real quick about the pipe. Now, when I got the pipe, it was full of dents all over, and on my KDX, I put a video up a long time ago about how to get all the dents out of a two-stroke pipe with some heat and air. Well, I did the same thing on this one, except I found a lot of little cracks when I popped it open, so I had to weld here and there a few places. Now my welds aren't very pretty, but it definitely works to keep the pipe producing a little bit more power than when I first rode around on with the big stinking dents in it. Now one other thing here too was the swing arm. The swing arm was kind of half painted, half not, and I stripped it all down to the bare metal, and it looked okay, but I was going for pretty much an OEM look, and that's why I did the stock graphics and all of that. So in order to achieve that, something that comes really close is an appliance paint. It's an epoxy based appliance paint. It's like a stainless color. This silver is so close to the original OEM, it's almost unbelievable. If you're trying to restore something or bring it back to the original, it's a really good way of doing it. I'll put a link down below in the comments for the appliance paint. I probably spent less than $1,000 to bring it up to where it is right now. The single most expensive thing was probably the forks getting rebuilt. Bushing kits, parts, etc. I'm probably at about $350 or $400, and then the plastics kit was about $150. So it's not too bad. There's a few other miscellaneous costs inside of that. So as it sits right now, I probably got about $2,800 into it. Not too bad at all. Now I've already taken a few rides on this thing, and man, I gotta tell you, this thing is a rocket. It reminds me of back in the day, back in the late 80s, early 90s, when I used to ride 125s motocross, these things just go like hell. I'm used to the KDX, and it's got Electron and a Woods pipe on it, and it's got great low and mid, and it goes up to the high, and it's got a lot of power, and it goes. This thing, whew, it just hits that power band and takes off. Also, the suspension, it's a lot stiffer than the KDX. Now this has stock spring rates on it, but it's made to go over jumps and go through whoops and ride at speed on a motocross track. So the suspension is very different. Now, a lot of you use motocross bikes for trail bikes. I think I'm going to do a comparison video between the KDX and this KX here and show the difference between them. Maybe show a little bit of video, give my opinion on why trail bikes are for trails and this thing is basically for motocross racing. That's enough talking. Let's start it up and go for a rip, eh? This thing flat out rips. You know, if you haven't ridden a 125, a good 125, not some POS, something that's in great tune, works really good in a long time, you'll kind of forget how violent these power comes on in these things. It's almost funny. I'm so used to my mellow KDX for power delivery, and this thing just comes on like a freight train. Whew! What a rip. What a rip. So guys, that's going to be it today from the ultra black top secret proving grounds of the OSG Garage, located somewhere in El Dorado County, California. This thing, I guess you can see from the video, is an absolute ripper. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, please smash that like button. If you haven't already, subscribe and share with your friends. And I'd love to hear your comments down below, okay? So until next time, that's going to be it for the OSG Garage. Bye-bye.